Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. For those of you who've just logged on in the last few minutes, we have already completed a sound test, and thanks to everyone who helped out with that. First of all, to introduce ourselves, my name is Rachel Hines, and I'm a marketing executive here at BrightPay. I'd also like to apologise in advance. I do have a bit of a flu at the moment, so apologies if I do get into a bit of a coughing fit or a sneezing fit or anything, but hopefully it won't come to that. Also joined by me today is my colleague Ian Jenkinson, who is a senior sales executive for BrightPay. Looking at our agenda for today, first we're going to discuss how cloud platforms improve the payroll process for employers. Here we will discuss cloud backups, employee self-service, payroll portals, employee smartphone apps, annual leave management, and finally, engaging and communicating with employees from one central online location. After we're done with all of that for part two, Ian will take you through a quick overview of BrightPay Connect's next generation features, demonstrating how automation and cloud flexibility can benefit you and your employees. All in all today, the presentation should take about 30 minutes and maybe about 15 minutes for the whistle-stop tour of BrightPay, leaving time at the end to answer any questions you may have. Just to note, if you do have any questions, you can type them into the questions box on your control panel at the right of the screen. And as I said, we will try to get through as many questions as possible. This webinar is being recorded and all attendees will receive an email later today with a link to the recording. So it's no problem if you do need to leave at any stage. Also in the email later today, there will be a copy of the presentation slides that we are using today, or you can also download the slides right now if you wish on the Handouts tab on your control panel. Today's webinar is CPD accredited, so if you wish to receive a CPD certificate, please fill in the survey at the end of the webinar, or if you happen to miss the survey, there will be a link in the follow-up email later today, which will allow you to request a CPD certificate. Now that all the housekeeping is out of the way, we may as well get straight into the webinar. Payroll Transformed, how cloud platforms supercharge the payroll process for employers. Accountants of all people don't need telling how the world of work is rapidly changing, especially if you've been in practice a decade or more. The payroll and HR landscape is fast evolving as business-savvy employers move towards next-generation online technologies. Until now, day-to-day payroll tasks such as annual leave management, distributing payslips to employees, and backing up your payroll file could sometimes be a very tedious and time-consuming process.
Yeah, that's right, Rachel. But fortunately for employers, today managing and tracking this information can be much easier thanks to payroll software with cloud integration. Your payroll and HR processes can be more integrated with the cloud and streamlined with your payroll software than ever before. What's more, these cloud platforms enable employers to work more effectively by streamlining administrative processes and delegating manual tasks to their employees. Ultimately, this gives employers more time to focus on other aspects of running a business.
So essentially what we're going to look at today is 6 exciting ways that cloud platforms have transformed payroll services. Not in the distant or even medium-term future, this is happening right now. So the first benefit we're going to look at today is cloud backups and the new security-conscious workforce. I'm backtracking a little bit to last year. I think we all remember the overwhelming days of May 2018 and the lead up to the GDPR D-Day. Employers everywhere, everyone was consumed by a mass panic as the new legislation was on the horizon. But then the day came and passed and, well, although the GDPR is in full effect, the hectic GDPR mania disappeared very quickly as no massive fines or crackdowns actually happened.
Well, that was until just recently, actually. In July, the ICO announced its intention to fine British Airways 184 million for breach of GDPR in relation to a serious data hack. And the data breach took place when users of British Airways website were diverted to a fraudulent site through which the details of approximately 500,000 customers were compromised, including customers' names, their email addresses, their travel itineraries, and credit card details, including the credit card number, the expiration date, and the 3-digit CVV code on the back of the card.
Yes, the ICO were not kidding when they said there would be fines of up to €20 million or 4% of annual turnover, whichever is higher. British Airways are currently appealing against the level of this fine, and although the £184 million does seem massive, it's still less than 2% of British Airways' annual turnover. The maximum could have been up to £489 million. In saying that, it is the largest GDPR penalty to date. Up until the British Airways announcement, the highest fine had been given to Facebook for the Cambridge Analytica scandal, and that was a measly 500 grand. To be honest, it's as if this case kickstarted the ICO into handing out fines. Just one day after British Airways received its notification, hotel chain Marriott was also notified by the ICO of an intention to levy a £99 million fine over a data breach. The thing is, the GDPR is still very much around and enforced, and while some might procrastinate on their duties, being compliant now will pay off once ICO eventually become less tolerant on compliance.
But GDPR's very existence indicates a deeper point. The introduction of GDPR not only introduced employer duties, but it also made everyone much more aware of the importance of data protection. Data security is extremely important in today's world, especially when we store, process, and send confidential information such as payslips, P60s, P45s, and for employers using the right payroll software that is designed with data security as a priority will make GDPR compliance a much simpler endeavor. Your data accuracy and compliance improve even further when you add in the ability to automatically back up payroll data in the cloud.
If you only keep your payroll data on your desktop, you are at risk of losing the information. It's important to ask yourself, how prepared am I for a disaster recovery situation? Have you thought about what would happen if your computer broke down or was hacked? Or if there was a fire or a flood, for example? How would you get your payroll data back quickly? Would employees still get paid if the information was lost? Without cloud backup, the consequences would be dire, but now these problems can be solved quickly.
BrightPay Connect is our optional add-on that works alongside the payroll software. Essentially, it's cloud integration that allows you to automatically and securely back up the payroll data to the cloud. BrightPay Connect maintains a chronological history of all your backups, and these backups can be restored at any time if required. It's simply an added layer of data protection to safeguard your data. And if the worst happens, you know you can salvage the situation.
The next thing we're going to look at is self-service and what we can learn from the checkout queue at the supermarket. If you only have a few items, it's faster and easier to go to the self-service checkout. But if you have more complex needs, say a trolley full of shopping, or maybe you need a pack of cigarettes, well then that's when you need human service. All throughout our daily lives, self-service has become a byword for simple convenience and speed. When the task required is simple and we know what we need, sometimes it's simply better to just DIY.
Employers can offer this same convenience to their employees. An employee can easily access their own personal payroll information through BrightPay's employee self-service functionality. Employees can view and retrieve their historic payslips and other payroll documents such as a P60, P45 or P11Ds and auto-enrollment communications. These documents can be downloaded and printed by the employee. Payslips are automatically added to the employee's self-service portal each pay period, which eliminates the need for the employer to print or email payslips. It's not only convenient, but it's more environmentally friendly.
There is an important distinction to be made, however, when we think about self-service. Self-service is a supplement, not a substitute. For employers freed from everyday admin, self-service is an opportunity to offer a better, more personalised experience for employees. Becoming an employer of choice has never been more important, especially as we are at near full employment. Businesses who do not compete in this space run the risk of being overlooked by prospective employees, millennials in particular. Moving on now, we're going to look at payroll portals, which is quite a new term. And when I say portal, I know for some of you, the first thing that will come to mind is sci-fi films, such as Stargate, where we become an intergalactic race able to travel vast distances in the blink of an eye. Back in reality, however, there are no bizarre Stargate portals, but there are the more everyday variety of online portals that have transformed self-service and made business simpler. It's not interstellar travel, but the impact of cloud portals shouldn't be underrated.
At times, employers will need to send payroll reports to their accountant by email, which aside from security issues, can be quite laborious and time-consuming task. An online payroll dashboard eliminates these twin concerns by empowering the accountant to help themselves. The BrightPay Connect employer portal automatically synchronizes payroll reports and employer information in one central online location, providing your accountant with access to an overview of the payroll reports and amounts due to HMRC. No more laborious, repetitive admin. Just one online portal that can save you time every pay period by eliminating the need to manually email reports to your accountant.
If you're looking for the exact year smartphones took off in the UK, 2008 is probably the best guess. The iPhone and Android had just launched in the UK market, and at that time only 17% of people owned a smartphone. Fast forward to now, and according to Ofcom, that figure has risen to 78%. Or if you look at 16 to 24-year-olds, it increases further to 95%.
And the smartphone is more than a device. It's practically an extension of our limbs. The average adult now checks their smartphones on average every 12 minutes of the waking day. 2 in 5 adults, that's 40%, first look at their phone within 5 minutes of waking up, and it climbs to a massive 65% of those aged under 35.
It's crazy. Alongside the smartphone's rise is the app. And 10 years on from Apple's famous "There's an app for that" campaign, there truly is an app for just about anything. That's because people are comfortable with using their smartphones to complete important tasks. For employers, it's important that whatever payroll software they use complements this trend towards smartphone and app usage. That's why BrightPay have developed a smartphone and tablet app so employees can access their data wherever, whenever, and on the go.
BrightPay's employee app is available with BrightPay Connect, and it's available to download for free on any Android or iOS device. For employers and HR managers, the user-friendly portal will streamline payroll processing while reducing the number of payroll queries from employees.
For employees, the app introduces powerful features on the move, with secure access using their smartphone or tablet. Employees would be able to view and download payslips, view and update their personal details, access employment documents, and even view their annual leave calendar and leave balance remaining, all from their smartphone. They could even request annual leave on the go, and personally, that's my favorite feature with my own employee app, just being able to request leave wherever I am. And Ian is going to show you how all of this works in the BrightPay Connect app in a few minutes. In the run-up to the holiday seasons, such as Christmas and the summer holidays, employee holiday requests transform from a trickle into a flood. Christmas, school holidays, and the warmer weather mean people taking some well-deserved time off. For businesses, however, booking a 2-week break is far from relaxing. The process of annual leave management can still be very much a manual, spreadsheet, paper-based, or even worse, an email-heavy exercise. That's valuable time wasted doing tedious admin tasks. You could be spending that time elsewhere, on running your business, or even taking your own vacation.
BrightPay Connect's online annual leave tools completely eliminate these cumbersome people management tasks. It's more than just payroll software. It's ready to go, easy to use HR solution. HR software shouldn't be an expensive luxury reserved for big corporations. BrightPay Connect is affordable and designed with small businesses in mind. The benefits of BrightPay Connect's online annual leave tools come in 3 main prongs, enabling employers to effectively plan their company calendar and staff resources, employees to request leave on a portal or a smartphone app, and employees to access leave taken and leave remaining records. All the while, leave is automatically recorded on the payroll software and is synced to the cloud. It's easy for the employer, not just the employee. The annual holiday rush should be a reason to be excited and not an administration nightmare.
The final section we're going to look at today is employee communications and interactions. I think we all know that everyone hates email tennis. There's a simple task that needs to be performed or something that needs to be approved, but conducted by email, it becomes a multi-message nightmare. These cumbersome email interactions add up. On average, office workers receive 200 emails a day and spend about 2.5 hours reading and replying to those emails. There is a better way to engage with employees, however. As we saw earlier, the time-consuming task of handling an employee request, such as a leave balance inquiry, can be automated and delegated to the employee. The employee can look up this information for themselves through their employee self-service app. There's no back and forth on email needed, and no manually digging through spreadsheets for you to respond to the request.
But what about the other employee queries? What if the employee misplaced their contract of employment, or is wondering about a specific company policy or a procedure? By using a cloud platform, employers can securely upload various employee documents and grant access to the employee to view these documents through their online portal, wherever, whenever. The powerful documents upload feature allows managers to share documents with individuals, with teams, or the whole company, all at the touch of a button. Simply upload an individual's contract of employment, performance or training records, training material, or distribute the company-wide handbook, including all policies and procedures.
The document upload feature ensures company documents are organized and employees can access relevant information quickly and easily. For the employer, an activity log allows managers and HR to record and track who has viewed the circulated documents and who has not. BrightPay's document upload feature means that managers and employers can securely access HR information and documents anytime, anywhere. Employers can say goodbye to managing their employees with an unorganized system of onerous email communications, spreadsheets, documents, and post-it notes. The key takeaway today is that software can never replace the personal interaction required as part of the payroll process, but it can supplement it in many ingenious ways. Through self-service, through apps, through cloud backup, payroll software is about making your life easier. Your payroll software should hum along quietly in the background, automating and simplifying the repetitive aspects of the job and keeping you compliant. It's here where BrightPay stands head and shoulders above the rest. Last year, our software won Payroll Software of the Year at the Accounting Web Software Excellence Awards. BrightPay also has a 5-star rating on the Software Advice website, a 99% satisfaction rate, and is used to process the payroll for over 200,000 businesses across the UK and Ireland. We've only covered 6 examples of how BrightPay Connect's online employer platform can help you become more efficient, but there's so much more on offer. I'm now going to pass you over to Ian, and today Ian is going to give you a very quick overview of BrightPay Connect. But if you want to find out more, you can also book onto a more in-depth demo later this week.
Yeah, so thanks very much, Rachel. So as we mentioned there in the last few minutes, BrightPay Connect is an add-on module to BrightPay itself, so nothing changes in the way that you would operate BrightPay. By simply having Connect offers a whole suite additional suite of functionality across to your employees. So as you can see here as well, if your employee is logged in on any media, be it a PC or television or an iPad, the software automatically adjusts to the size of the screen. But also worth mentioning, on the left-hand side, all employees have a free app on the App Store that you can download later on. It looks like this, and it's called the Employee app. But again, I'll step into all of this now in the coming minutes. So the way it works is, as an employer, you actually invite your employees onto the portal. The reason why this is very easy to do, and I'll show you how to do it, is that when you're in BrightPay, when you're in the under each employee, you set up their email address, as you know. But over on the right-hand side, under the HR tab, you have, if you click on that, you'll see a little box to be ticked where it's to enable self-service access. And once that's ticked, it is so simple for you to actually invite all of your employees onto the portal, which means that they log onto the portal on their laptop, say, and when they download the app, they use the same password, and therefore everything is synced together. So it's so simple. So let's get started, and here's a view of the BrightPay, as you can see here. And because you're now connected to, linked to Connect, the little cloud icon here up in the corner is now green, showing that you're now backing up every 15 minutes. And again, when you're logging out of your own account. And as Rachel said, then that means you will never, ever have to worry about having a backup available for your software. So if I click here just to go into the employer dashboard. So this is your Connect dashboard, and as you can see here, you're on the cloud, and therefore you can bookmark this on your iPad or your PC or laptop, and therefore it gives you access, huge access to your data when you're not in the office and you're out and about. Yeah, so here you are here, as we just put in this example, calling your company Allen's Auto Repairs. Yeah. If I click on the Users tab, then this is the area where you actually create users who are to be the administrators or the standard users for your payroll data in your business. So if I click here on Add, there's two types of users. There's the administrator, okay, and there's a standard user. An administrator typically would have access to everything, okay? So that would be typically your good self, or perhaps if you want another range of users who have limited access, for example, maybe approving holidays or anything like that in their own department, you can actually configure that where they have no access to payroll, just access to maybe the holiday leave or maybe the moving address and all that kind of stuff. And but the administrator, if you tick to enable administrator, they do have access to payroll data and all information. So it's just worth noting that. So if I go back into the employers tab, this is where you, as your employer, this is your company, and if I click on it, you go into your dashboard for the Connect, and I'll step into quickly across each of these tabs now. So on the main dashboard, when you're on Connect, you'll see that, for instance, in this example, we show you here where Carla and any employee's holiday request will pop in on your dashboard here like this. Here's your employer details. Your next payment due to HMRC will come up on the screen also here, which is very, very handy. And behind the cogwheel here as well is where you can access the audit trail. There's an audit trail for the holiday leave, and there's an audit trail for the payroll request. So under the holidays, for example, anybody who has had holidays approved or rejected, by the way, if they're rejected, they'd be in red, but as they're approved, you can see here. So if somebody disappears for a long holiday to Australia or something, you can go in very quickly and see, who approved that and when was it approved. The one below it is the payroll one. So when was the payroll approved and when it was, and it's all time stamped, see? And also the comments box is also captured here. So if there was comments for any changes between payrolls, this is also brilliantly handled here by capturing it in the comments box. Yeah. The next one is the employees. Well, this is where you can access all of your employees from anywhere, anytime. Because, for example, if, say, Benedict, for example, if you wanted to go into Benedict to view maybe their address or his address, or maybe look at his payslips, or if you wanted to go into Benedict and into his calendar, you can actually register sick leave, maternity leave, paternity leave, all that kind of stuff, or cancel holidays directly and anytime, anywhere. This is where you actually send the invitation email out to all of your employees. Remember I told you it was made easy, because don't forget, when you're in BrightPay, you set up the email addresses for each employee, and on the right hand side under the HR tab, you also tick the box for self-service access. Once you have that ticked, when you click here, that all employees will appear up and you simply send out the email. So it's very, very simple to do. Here's the reports tab. This is basically where you enable access to the reports anywhere, anytime, for your good self, or more importantly for your accountant. So you can set up, remember we talked about the users there earlier on, you can set up a user as your accountant. So your accountant can access any report they want in a secure fashion. So as Rachel said earlier on, it eliminates the risks of standard emails and emailing confidential documentation, which is highly risk. It has huge risks. So, and again, you can configure what reports, because maybe the accountant doesn't want to see everything. He only wants to see specific reports. You can actually tweak which reports are made available on Connect as well. Yeah. So, and if I click into the report as well, for example, the payroll summary, not only can they view the reports, but they can actually select what time period they want. So say if the accountant wanted to run a particular report on any particular employee, they can do so like that and simply run. So in this case, we run for all employees and simply run the report. There's the whole report, all flowed across from BrightPay, and is presented to the accountant in this instance, or to your good self, wherever you are on BrightPay Connect. So it's very handy, and it can be exported and downloaded and printed if you so wish. The next tab is the calendar tab. This is where, when you have Connect, you have a simple graphical overview of the holiday leave, annual leave situation in your company. Very handy if you want to keep an eye on sick leave trends, or maybe, so this color here is all color coded. This is the approved annual leave. This is unpaid leave. This is sick leave, as I mentioned there. And this is the statutory kind of maternity leave and all that kind of stuff, paternity leave. So if I click as well on any one month, for example, or any one day, I should say, it will come up with the corresponding person who's on leave on that particular day. The handiness of this feature is that if somebody has put in for holidays, you can quickly click on the corresponding days that they put in for, just to see is there anybody else off work or on leave at the same time. So it avoids kind of half of the department disappearing at the same time. So it's really handy, and again, it can save a lot of costs, because there's a lot of companies have separate third-party products just for the calendar, and in essence, holiday calendar comes free as part of the Connect module, so it can save a lot of money. The next tab is the HMRC payments tab. This is basically where, when you calculate your HMRC payments, and as they're calculated, they appear up here in front of you. So it's made available to the accountant as well to view at all times. So it's very, very handy. The next tab is the Documents tab. And this tab here is where the company handbook and the contracts of employment, and as Rachel mentioned earlier on, that we can distribute any document. It's like a digital platform for distributing documents to employees. So all you have to do is click add. So any document that you want to distribute, and as we mentioned earlier, you can distribute it to the whole company, you can distribute it to a department, or you can distribute it to an individual. Like, for example, the contracts would go to individuals, whereas the company handbook would go to the whole company, all staff members. But particularly handy if you have shift workers, or if you need to get out a company announcement to all employees at the same time. This is how you can easily do it, and it's very beneficial. Also very handy if you've a change in health and safety procedures or something like that, and it's essential that every employee reads the health and safety changes or the document, and that they have access to it at all times. And as we mentioned earlier, Connect also monitors who's actually looked at it behind these little eye icons here. So if it is something like health and safety, it's imperative the staff read it, therefore you can keep it in check as to have they actually read it or not. Yeah. So the next set of screens we look at are the employees view. So when you send out that link I told you earlier on, the invitation link, it has a standard email with an active link in it. And when they click on the active link, this is the screen it takes them to. And by the way, the picture in the background here is just a sample picture that we put up. In essence, your company logo would actually be up here, so that every time your employees are logging in, it's your employer logo that they see, because it helps to, I suppose in this day and age, retain employees, because it's a really powerful feature that you'll be giving your employees for free. where they can book holidays and look at documents and have everything in the palm of their hand. So in this instance, we just log in here with my cheat keys like this, and we log in. You don't have to worry about passwords either. You're not going to get troubled by your employees looking for new passwords to be renewed, because the technology looks after that for you. So if they have forgotten their password, they simply click here and go through what you know the standard processes for renewing your password. So we'll just click go in this instance, and this is the dashboard that all employees will have, and I'll step quickly through these now. So as this girl here is called Carla, so as Carla's payslips pop in, you'll see here they all pop in, made available to her here. Here's her address and her phone number. It's imperative under under GDPR compliance to make sure that these are kept up to date at all times. Here's her annual leave coming up here as well. Yeah, and as her payslips pop in, she will also receive an email in her standard email inbox alerting her to that. And if she moves to the click here, you can see that it comes up automatically with the standard link to securely take her to her payslip on the secure platform. Not only that, when her payslip pops in, she'll get a standard notification on her smartphone. You know the way when you get a news link from BBC News or anything like that, or the RT News, that it comes through automatically. So it's quite powerful. Yeah. Next tab is the Documents tab, and this is where every employee has all of their payslips in a library where they can view them at any time, which is great. And the beauty of this is it means that any employee who wishes to go to the bank or put in a mortgage or a big personal loan, they can quickly go log into their Connect and print off their own payslips, so they don't have to go chasing you or the accountant looking for copies of those. So they can quickly click into any one. They can't change the details, obviously, but all the details flow across from BrightPay. They simply download them here, print them off, and again saves you a ton of time. Where it gives this facility to your employees anytime, night or day. I'll just go back into documents because there's a second tab here. Here's the first one, which is the library of all the payslips and that. But the second tab, if I click on that, you can see here that this is the company handbook, the contract of employment. So it's very specific documents just for this employee. So this is where she has access to her company handbook and her specific contract, obviously. And if there's any other document that her employer deemed necessary for Carla to have, this is actually where she would have it always in the palm of her hand to access at any time, night or day. Next tab is the calendar tab, and this is where Carla and every other employee can view their own holidays, see their own sick leave, all that kind of stuff. The stripy color here means that they're waiting for approval type of color, so it's just to make you aware of that. Yeah. So if Carla was at home and wanted to put in for holidays, she would simply click here on request leave, and from the drop down she would select whatever days she wanted to put in for. Behind this drop down here is where Carla and any other employee can apply for annual leave or actually unpaid leave if they've actually ran out of holidays near the end of the year and they wanted to take some leave. This is the exact same layout, by the way, that if the employer, so if you log into Carla, say, for example, and go into her calendar, as we showed you earlier on, when you go in as an employer into this annual leave drop down here, there's actually more options for you where you can log statutory leave or sick leave or cancel holidays and that. So, but it's the exact same layout. And in this instance, any employee can put in for annual leave as a full day off or a half day, AM, PM, or they can actually do it in hours as well. Once that particular employee is set up as having hours in BrightPay itself, whatever you've set up in BrightPay will reflect here in essence. Here's another feature as well here on the right hand side, 28 days that you can see here in this example. When Carla was set up in BrightPay by your good selves, from then on, her days, as her days are approved and as she takes her leave, they're also deducted and reflect automatically here. Very handy feature because it can help you from accruing for additional holiday leave carrying forward into the next fiscal year, because you can use the document distribution portal to actually remind their staff, your own staff, to take their holidays throughout the year in a slightly more even way, so you don't have half the company disappearing in the last months trying to use up holidays. So it's quite a handy feature because, for example, if any employee sees a holiday in a special offer or something at the weekend, they can quickly whip out their phone, put in for the time there and then, anytime, night or day. So it's really good. So in this instance, Carla's put in for a couple of days and simply submits that request, yeah, and it comes up that it's been submitted. It will show up immediately on, do you remember earlier we set up a user to approve leave? Well, that's the person that gets that request, and it would show up on their dashboard just like this, where it can be rejected or approved. If it's rejected, by the way, the person who's head of that department can actually put in a little note to say why it's been rejected, so at least there's a two-way communication back to the employee. But if it's approved, it simply disappears off the panel like that, and would show up on her leave as and the calendar as her days being approved. Yeah. So the next and final tab is the My Details tab. This is where every employee can view their own address details and telephone number. This is imperative under GDPR compliance because every employee has to keep their address, phone number up to date at all times, and we have to give them the facility to be able to do that. And Connect meets that requirement, because if, say in this example, if Carla moved to a new house, bought a new house, or moved to a new rented house, she can quickly whip out her phone anytime, night or day, put in the address. Those details flow through to, again, remember we spoke about the head of the department or in the administration department that would actually tick the change of requests in from their colleagues. Well, that's the person that approves it, and therefore it keeps the database up to date at all times. Yeah. So now we'll look at what the actual app looks like on the smartphone. So this is actually what when you download it from the App Store. This is when you get notifications, and you can see here's availability of all my documents and payrolls as well. And if I click on the payslips, you can see here's all my payslips flowing through. And if I click on calendar, here's my calendar dates and all of that, and you can quickly put in for holidays. And here's my details where I have view of my home address and my contact details at all times. So that's it from me. I hope I didn't talk too fast and that I got the key messages across. And I'll hand you back now to Rachel.
Thanks, Ian. It's now time for the questions and answers, and I see a few questions have come through already. Just if you do have any questions about the webinar or the software, feel free to type them into the questions bar and we'll try to get through as many questions as possible. Just bear with us now as we get the questions up. The first question here is, can we upload our own contracts and handbooks, or do we need to use the BrightPay template? Thanks. So you can upload any document you want. We have a separate software that allows you to create the contracts, but it doesn't need to be created through Bright Contracts to be able to upload to Connect. It could even be a Word document with information that you want to send out to your employees. It doesn't have to be anything that's created in BrightPay. It's any sort of document you want. When a staff member leaves the company, do they still have access to their payslip?
Yes, they do, and that time period, in essence, can be just agreed between you and the particular employee. Typically, be it a week or 2 weeks, and then terminate their access. And that's done very simply at the beginning. Remember I told you the little green cloud up in the corner. When you click on that, it brings up the list of employees in the center option, and when you click on it, you'll see all of your employees, and you can actually just tick on whichever employee you want to terminate. But again, it's normally just a gentleman's agreement between the employee and your good selves as to when and how long you want to give them access to download all their payslips and P60s. Yeah. Perfect.
That question actually came in a couple of times there. Does the holiday feature link into the payroll software? For example, does it automatically add the holiday days to the payslip? So yeah, so any of the days that show up in the online calendar for the employees and the employer, they will sync back to the payroll software. So when you're processing the payroll, you will see that the employee is on leave for those dates. And if you have the option ticked then for the annual leave to be visible on the payslip, it will flow through the payslip as well. Another one here, is there a 30-day trial for BrightPay Connect? My boss is skeptical. I need to show it will work well before they will commit to it.
Yeah, so we're happy to say yes is the simple answer to that question. So we'd be only too happy to provide it if you send us an email or whatever. Yeah, fantastic.
Does Connect update the address in the payroll when it is amended? So yeah, once the HR manager or the person who's selected to approve the leave, once they approve the change of the postal address, for example, it will update in the employee record in the payroll software as well. So everything syncs back to the payroll if the option for it to be in the payroll is there, if that makes sense. Some employees don't have emails. Can they still use the app? So no, unfortunately, you do need to have an email to be able to use the app and the employee self-service. Obviously, there is the option for them just to set up an email.
Yeah, just to do it.
Free to do anyway. So, we don't currently use BrightPay. Is there a webinar coming up to run through the payroll side of things? So yeah, we do run payroll demos of the software, and once this webinar is over, a survey will pop up on your screen, and there is an option there to book a demo of BrightPay, and one of the sales team then will get back to you just to see what time suits. So that's about a 20-minute demo. It runs through all the payroll side of things. How far back can we put payslips on for employees? Well, as long as you're using BrightPay, you can put on previous tax years. I'm not actually sure if there's a cut-off on how far back you can go, but we have had BrightPay Connect for the past few years, so I know you can go back to kind of at least 15, 16 tax year anyways, but possibly even further, I'm not 100%. Can one employee view all employees' holiday calendar?
No, for obviously privacy reasons and GDPR compliance, each employee can see fellow employees for obvious reasons. However, the person in the HR department within your company, they would obviously have a central overview like I demonstrated there a few moments ago. So particularly handy that they can view it before they actually approve other colleagues. But in between colleagues, no, employees cannot view their own, I should say, their other colleagues' holidays.
This one here is just a comment. I have to say, when my computer crashed recently, I was able to access BrightPay on another computer from the cloud. It happened 2 days before payday and the customer service was excellent. Thanks, BrightPay. So that's brilliant, Wendy, that's great feedback there. Can BrightPay automatically link to Xero accounting software? So yeah, we do have payroll journal integration with Sage 1, QuickBooks Online and Xero. So yeah, you can automatically send your payroll journal to Xero at the click of a button, and we can send out a video to that to you later today, just a tutorial on it if you want. How much does the cloud facility cost?
Okay, at the moment in this tax year, for one license, it's £49 per license. However, in the new tax year, it's changing to a subscription model, and therefore it's far more a fairer system in that it will depend on how many employees are on the portal. And if you wanted to email me, I can gladly tell you which resulting amount will be, no problem. But it's on a per employee basis, so it's a far fairer system. Yeah.
Okay. I use BrightPay alongside QuickBooks for 2 employers. I can automate the pension submissions to People's Pension and Nest Fine, but I'm left manually entering the paychecks to QuickBooks as I don't know what I need to do to automate this process. So again, this is like the Xero integration. We have integration with QuickBooks Online, where you can click a button and it sends it directly to QuickBooks Online. If you're using the QuickBooks desktop, you can do a CSV upload and import into the software, but QuickBooks desktop is actually ceasing as well. Is the software one-off or does it need to subscribe every year?
Yeah, the BrightPay payroll software is annual cost per tax year, and then the BrightPay Connect will be from the new tax year in April, will be actually on a monthly subscription model. In other words, the amount will vary every month, just depending on how many employees. So if you take on some extra employees, or if you lose some employees during that month, the corresponding next month payment will actually reduce or increase ever so slightly as a result. So yes, it's an ongoing subscription model.
And because it's a month-to-month basis as well, you can cancel at any time. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to have it for 12 months or for the tax year.
There's no contract.
You can decide this month that you don't want it next month, that it's based on usage. Are there different levels of administrator access, i.e. some full HR level and some just to approve holidays?
Yes, and I hope I demonstrated that earlier on, that if you set up, there's two types of administrator. Administrator basically has power, overall power, has everything, can access everything, holiday leave, payroll slips, everything. However, if you only want people in various departments, or maybe just at HR level to do the holidays, you can set them up as a standard user and simply tick the box, the corresponding box, to approve requests, and don't tick any of the payroll and other document tabs. And that's the simple solution, and it really works well. Yeah. Great. Particularly across departments, actually, so that individuals in charge of their own department can have full control over who's on leave. Yeah.
And you can set up as many users as you want. You might have 10 different department heads that you want to approve and leave for different people, or accessing the payroll. I'm just trying to read a few more questions here. So how much is the monthly? What is the £49 for them?
Well, I suppose currently £49 in this current tax year would have given you unlimited employees in essence. Yeah. However, say in the new subscription model, for example, if I strip it down to one employee, if you just had one employee, then this, instead of being £49, would actually turn out to be £6 per year for one employee. But again, the economies of scale kick in, and the more obviously employees you have, the cheaper it gets. So if you email us your number of employees, we'll be only too happy.
I can even include a link in the follow-up email to the calculator, so you can have a look at how much it would cost.
That'd be great.
And play around to see. You don't necessarily have to have, say, depending on how many employees you have. Can the employer in the portal mark the PAYE when it's paid? So I'm not 100% what you mean to there, whether it's the HMRC payments, just marking it for bureaus or for the bureau side of things. At the moment, there is no way for a client to mark the HMRC payment as done. That does need to be done in the payroll software. Yeah. Sorry, this is just a long one here. Yeah, that's kind of a complicated one there. We can.
Is this one? Yeah. Well, in essence, when the employee gets the link, they have to set up their own password. Yeah. And then when they download the app on the App Store, they have an option, number one, to leave it permanently logged in. In other words, that they only have to tap the application and it takes them straight into it immediately. Or if they can tap to actually require their password every time they log in. So it does give that additional privacy, so that if one of the children at home can't pick up the phone and access the app on the app,
or even if you left your phone on a bus or anything,
so it does introduce that second layer of security. Yes, it does.
Sue just got back. Yes, that's what I meant. So yeah, unfortunately, you can't mark the HMRC payments as done through Connect at the moment. It's just done through the payroll.
Payroll itself, yeah. And then it reflects on that panel, on the HMRC panel on Connect. That's
exactly. So there is one more question through there. It's a bit complicated, so we'll get back to you directly. But other than that, that's all the questions that have come through today. I'd like to thank you all for joining us for today's webinar. As we said, we will send out a follow-up email later today, and this will include a link to the recording of the webinar and a copy of the slides. Just a reminder that if you would like a CPD certificate for today's webinar, make sure to fill in the survey that will appear on your screen shortly. And I'd like to thank you all for joining us for today's webinar. We hope you enjoyed it and see you again soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.